What's up, guys? Just got done going to the bank. Had new check come in today from a case we just completed. That was $16,000, the one we did. So not a huge case, but a good case, 60-40 split, and that was $16,000. So good way to end the month of January here in 2020. This year's looking good for us as far as the overage business goes. I think so far we did about 20K net profit this month, and that's just from our overage cases. That's not from education or courses or anything like that. That's just from the overage deals that we've worked. But caveat to that is those are all deals that we were working months ago. And I've said this before, the work you do today, you won't see you won't see the fruit from that work until 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the road from today. And I think that's one of the downsides to this business, right? And it's one of the downsides to, maybe being an entrepreneur is you don't get paid immediately. When you're an employee, it's nice because you work 2 weeks and then you get your paycheck. You have that money and you know it's coming. And that's the good thing about being an employee. The bad part about being an entrepreneur is there's a lot of unknowns and you really don't know when you're going to get paid. And that's very real in this business. That is very much a reality. However, I'd rather deal with that issue and be able to have control of my time and actually have control of my income too. So there's two sides of both coins, right? But don't think that it's not always more glamorous on the entrepreneur side. I did a video about this recently. But what I wanted to share with you, in addition to just that check and, showing you just the results that we're having, in my own business. I wanted to also share with you kind of my thoughts about my journey so far. And, how it wasn't that long ago that I was working at the prison and doing the 12-hour graveyard shifts for $16 an hour and making less than $3,000 a month. It wasn't that long ago. And what I was thinking today is how there has been certain moments in my journey that have been critical and pivotal moments where I had to make a decision, and I often wonder if I had made a different decision where I would be today. And I can think of several moments like that. One of my moments is very early on, when I was, still working at the prison, is, do I drop $1,500 on this course to learn about this supposed strategy of overages? Like, I had never heard of overages before, but I watched a webinar and there was a course on it, and I was like, do I spend $1,500 that I don't have on a credit card in order to gain this knowledge and potentially, go out and do deals? That was a pivotal moment for me. And it was a choice I had to make. And I'm just so grateful that I made the choice to invest in myself and invest, take a chance, go out on faith and invest in my education, and then see it through and implement that education. Because I wonder, what if I hadn't? What if I had made the excuse, I don't have the money, I can't afford it. And I really couldn't afford it, but, I put it on a credit card and I worked overtime shifts to pay it off. I made those sacrifices. But I wonder, where would I be today had I not done that? Would I still be at the prison? Would I even be an entrepreneur had I not made that decision. Another decision too is the decision I made to leave my job. That was a pivotal moment for me, because deep down, and there's many people that have been able to create a side income while working a job and then transferred into a full-time business, and that is a good route to go. I think it's a little safer, a little less risky. But for me, at that time in my life, I knew that there was not going to be a better time. I could wait and put it off, but deep down inside, I knew that if I was working my job and then also trying to build a business, I wasn't going to get momentum. And so I made the decision to leave. And I left my job, and like, here's the reality. I didn't even know exactly what I was going to do. I just knew I was going to be in real estate. And so when I left my job, I just knew I was going to do either wholesaling real estate, being a real estate agent, or doing overages. And that's all I knew. But it took me a few months after I quit to actually make the other decision to focus 100% on overages. And that was another pivotal moment, is making the decision to put all of my chips on this one strategy, the overage strategy. And I think about, where would I be today had I made the decision to stay at my job? Or where would I be today if I had made the decision to maybe focus 100% on wholesaling, or 100% on being a real estate agent? I don't know where I would be today, but I'm just grateful of where I am so far and in my journey so far, and looking forward to the journey ahead. And another pivotal moment is, had I not decided to go to a foreclosure auction on a property in my neighborhood, where would I be today had I not gone to that auction, saw a property, to see a property sell for 30 grand more than the opening bid, and then talk to the attorney, the auctioneer there, and then understand and realize that mortgage overages was a whole nother strategy that I didn't even realize was available. But I discovered it, and then I, together with this attorney, was able to figure it out, and then figured out I could do it in other states. And it's just crazy how every day we're faced with decisions, and some decisions are very pivotal and we don't even realize it in the moment, but one decision can change the entire trajectory of your life. And it's just so crazy to think about that. It's so crazy to think about, what if I hadn't invested in that course? What if I hadn't quit my job? What if I hadn't gone to that auction? Where would I be? I have no idea, but it's crazy to think about. And it's also crazy to think about how, when you step into the unknown, when you make that decision to take that leap and you don't really know what the outcome is going to be, it's amazing how the light and the education comes from stepping into the unknown. Like, again, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do when I quit my job, but the knowledge came, and there were certain decisions I had to make. And so that's something that's crucial too in our development as people, and in business, is you have to be okay with not knowing everything. You have to be okay with not knowing what's going to happen. And that's a scary thing to do, but that is part of our journey, and that is part of the journey to greatness in anything. There was a quote, I heard it yesterday, from one of my mentors, whose name is Ed Milet. You should follow him. Great man, provides a lot of value. He has a podcast that you should listen to. He's also on YouTube. Just Google Ed Milet. Milet is Mylett, I think. He said this yesterday. I hope I don't butcher this quote, but he said, champions are those that step into situations they're not prepared for, and they figure it out when they get there. And I thought that was so profound, because I've experienced that in this business. There are days when there's still things I don't know about, but I move forward anyway and figure it out as I go. And having that ability to just step into the unknown and then figure it out as you go, and to step out on faith, that has been probably one of the biggest reasons that I'm where I am today, and the progress that I've seen. And it freaks me out to think about, what if I had made the opposite decision? Instead of investing in myself, what if I had said, no, I'm not going to do that? Or instead of quitting my job, what if I said, no, I'm going to stay here where it's safe and secure, and I don't, I'll get my paycheck every 2 weeks. It's scary, man. And all of us have those decisions we have to make every day. And so I guess, hopefully I've made the point, but I hope you understand that every day you have an opportunity to make a decision. And the decisions you make today are going to determine where you're going to be a year, 2 years, 3 years from now. And so I guess the question then becomes, how do you know what to choose? How do you know what decision to make? And that's a tough one. But all I can say is this. If you have to decide between change or not change, or if it's a decision, if the decision you're contemplating, if it's going to bring you additional knowledge, additional skill sets, if it has the possibility for a greater outcome, then choose that decision. Now, of course, weigh your options. Of course, there's always risks. But also understand that, contemplate the worst case scenario too. Usually the worst case scenario is not that bad. And then figure out, well, what is the most likely scenario? Right? For example, when I quit my job, what was the worst case scenario? Well, I could lose my house. I could lose my car. Maybe my wife will divorce me. But what was the most likely scenario? Well, the most likely scenario was, I'd quit, and if it didn't work out, I'd go back. I'd go back to my job. And even then, the worst case scenario, I made that a reality. When I quit, we sold our house. So at that point in time, I had nothing to lose. I scaled back. I, took a dive in my living situation. I made those sacrifices. So there's a lot of key things that, determine progress and success. One of them's your mindset. What are you willing to sacrifice? What is the price you're willing to pay? And then, are you willing to go through that? Are you willing to suffer pain for the opportunity to obtain a greater standard? Are you willing to give up what you have now to have more in the future? Are you willing to take time, invest money, invest time into the development of new skills and greater education and knowledge? These are all things you have to consider, and these are all decisions you have to make. And if we don't make those decisions, if we choose not to invest time, not to invest money, not to make sacrifices, that's okay. But just be aware of what the cost is for that. And be aware that if you're not willing to choose those things, choose sacrifice, choose investment, choose pain, if you're not willing to choose those things, then you have to be okay with where you're at now, because you can't progress without those other things. So that's all I have for you today. I've just been thinking about that. And that's it, guys. I hope you have a great day, have a great weekend, and be aware of those pivotal choices you have to make in your life. And just ask yourself where they're going to take you, and then step out on faith, step out into the unknown. And that's all I got.